was fighting against you.
No.
Yes.
You were beside me.
I was not beside you.
Yeah, and you tried to run a pole arm, and they just chopped your legs out, both of them, and you came back with your head held low, and I was like, and then you stopped ditching.
No, because the only reason that got me going was the fact that I was drunk and you were out there fighting, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go get me a piece of Robin. Right? Like that was the entire driving force behind my push to go on the ditch field.
Tell you what,
I was so blurred out and you were just moving so fast that I could do nothing. And like, so it wasn't even a fight. And that's when you were telling me that I was useless.
No, it was, you were fighting Black Company.
See, maybe it happened twice.
Well, I mean, that could be fair.
But this was Pack War, right?
Yeah, this was the one that ATOG came up before.
No, this was way before that.
No, that was the same one. Yeah,
that was the one where
all
the Bellegarth guys came up and jugged, and ATOG came up, and it was, I want to say it was like either Friday. I think it was Friday night.
Okay.
Because Saturday night I got sloshed, and Trevor and Sammy drove me home in a burger sauna.
Gross.
If we could have found those showers, I would have been fine. But
yeah, we drove around looking for showers, and we couldn't find them. It was an old SUV with no
AC.
No AC.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell do you go? I want to do something else now. This isn't working.
See, it's a good thing you started because we still got 1 minute to go.
Yeah, dog boy, schmuck.
Wait a minute. No. I didn't say that you should try and get it started and then fuck it up. I said you should start at 10.
Yeah, well, that's where we're at right now. So,
like, it's 10 o'clock now. You're running late.
I know.
You have a whole minute.
You should have tried spinning this up earlier, probably.
Yeah.
Tell Be Live that we are having trouble being live.
Well, it's live. I just don't know where it is. Like, it's theoretically live on Veronica's YouTube.
North Korea.
The thing that I had open in order to monitor the stream on YouTube is not working.
Hello, YouTubers. I know that we probably have about 1.5 million watching right now, silently in the background, but
at least.
So I just wanted to greet those massive audiences. Robin will take the greetings in Spanish and Greek for us. Robin, take it away.
I have to wait until I have a question.
Right.
Oh, geez. Okay, I found it now. But now I'm watching it as a video, not actually running it. Good Lord.
So what you're saying is that you found it and it is, in fact, on the internet.
Yes.
Excellent.
But it's okay. I'm just going to copy the link and post it to...
We're so good at this.
I know, right? And there's a hella long delay, too, so I'm hearing you guys, and then I'm hearing you guys again.
And now I'm hearing that shit through my speakers, too, which is super obnoxious.
Now it's gone.
There we go.
Yes, it is.
You should have watched more of Misty's and see how she did this.
Yeah. But I didn't.
You look like a pirate, dog boy.
Thank you.
All right, so we are streaming. I was able to post a link to the Northern Lights page I'm going to post a couple more places so everyone gets. Oh, no, stop. Make sure everyone can see it.
You posting it to the Northern Lights page?
Yes, I did.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Are you able to monitor and see if people are looking or whatever?
I will be able to see who's looking, and if anyone comments on the YouTube stream, I'll be able to see their comments.
That's fancy.
Yeah. Paste, dude. Why can't you paste? Okay. We're going to call that good for now. It looks like we have 2 people watching, and Dogboy's gone. Okay. I don't know what the hell. Oh, geez.
Oh, how do I chat? Get started.
Oh, okay. So perfect. So Gwen and Uriel are watching, and Cyric. Perfect. All right. Good sound and clarity too. Thanks, Chris. So let's go ahead and start since
I love Locke.
Yeah. Since Locke, Cyric, and Gwen are here, it's all the important people anyway. So let's go ahead and get started.
We're gonna tell all the people that don't already know everything you're gonna ask.
Yes. They haven't seen the questions yet, so you know what? Eat it. So
I'm willing to bet that they lived it with us to a large degree, but that's cool, man. I get it.
let's give them a reminder. So we're gonna start with Robin because Dogway's gonna talk last pretty much every time. So I'm just gonna make Robin go first.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. So go ahead and just give an introduction of yourself and give us like sort of a brief history of your AmpGuard career. Just like give us the cliff notes.
Okay. So I started when I was about 11. I went to like a Libby Teen Center and saw one of the instructors or supervisors was making gear, and so went out that Saturday and got hooked. I fight out of Stormhaven, as everyone knows. And then when I was 19, I got my Warlord. And then 20, I got Knight of the Sword. That's pretty much the quick and dirty of it.
Nice.
Nice. Who cares about his fighting companies or any? I mean, it's no worries.
Cliff notes, Matt.
I don't know. How much do you want me to ramble on? Okay, I'm a founding member of the Rejuvenation of Alliance. The second time around. I don't know. That's it, man.
Yeah.
Go for it. Let's hear Dogboy.
All right, Dogway. Or Sir Warlord Damien.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So
With an A.
the one I actually have to give the credit to, if I really think back to it, is Granite, which I don't necessarily know that everyone knows, but Granite, I think, had most of his presence over in Spokane.
Towards the end of
But
his
happened to be
career.
working at like a computer networked place that had pods where you could do gaming, Quake, flight simulators, whatever. Totally mundane thing. I'm out there with buddies in high school and find out, and he starts talking about this AmpGuard thing, this field. So I went out and checked it out the next weekend at Marymore because I happen to live there, and that's how I found it at like 16 years old. But that guy who ended up not really playing at IO ever and then moved back and saw him years and years later, but that's the crazy shit that started there. Inland Ocean's kind of been home for the whole time, I guess. Give my shout out to Kesgar as the first guy that really got me dedicated into traveling and fighting in there, which moved into the Golden Lions for the company in that fashion, hung with them for a good many years. Transitioned over to the Golden Lions, from the Golden Lions to the Green Dragons. Then had my stint with Alliance here. So been playing, I don't know what, 20 some odd years. Yeah, so long time. Got my Warlord when I was 27, Sword Knight when I was 28.
Nice. I'm going to open up some questions here. But so if you had to pick one person, especially we'll say like the first half of your career, I know Dogboy, you had Kesgar and Show that were big influences, but who would you say was your number one influence that got you into taking fighting as like your main focus of the game? So Dogboy, if you want to start us off with that.
I'd have to give that one to Kesgar. He opened my eyes up to what Amtgard really was. I didn't fully understand the scope. I was just a teenager. I was in high school. It was this cool game, man. I liked my Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop gaming. I liked running around and playing things at the parks and getting to swing a stick at your buddy was lots of fun. But he was the one that drove me down to Oregon and showed me the kingdom that was Mystic Seas at the time, and I got to see a kingdom event. He's the one that I went to Clan with, man, back when Clan was, 1,000, 1,200 people. So seeing ditch lines of hundreds on hundreds, I mean, to the point where you can't even track it, right? Watching, I was pretty hooked at a major fashion, getting to see it at that scale. So he's really, and I had a lot of mentors and people and comrades in arms along the way, but really Kez would probably be the one that started me down the path.
Nice. Robin?
For me, it'd probably be either a toss-up between Garth and Stefan, actually, because Garth, he took me to 1,000 Stars, a couple campouts. My parents trusted him, because I was young, and so he was very generous with hauling me around and taking me to these events or going to the West Coast and everything like that. And so him for sure, he does a great job with new people and keeping them hooked and getting them set up with gear and stuff like that, which he started after I did just shortly. And then Stefan was like, I think it was one of the first 1,000 Stars I went to. They're like him and Derek Roth and then Granite. Those three just came over for the camp out. And I was like, this is a different kind of fighting and everything. And so it just kind of a little taste to what the rest of the Amtgard world was at a young age.
Nice. So this video is going to be a little less, maybe a little less structured, a little more discussion. Mostly because the three of us have we have a lot of history and stuff like that. There's a lot of connection there. But one of the things that I always wondered about is so it was something I was thinking about today. So you guys at certain points of my Amtgard career, at least, it was we would go to a kingdom level tournament or whatever, and it was, I don't want to say a foregone conclusion because it's not true, but you guys were generally going to, like, one of you was going to win that tournament that day. It was always like, I want to try and beat Robin or Dogboy to keep them from winning, but that was always the challenge. Since it was so, at certain points, like I said, it was so much like you guys, between the two of you, it was normally the toss-up. Did you ever find any feelings of animosity towards each other, knowing that like that was the one guy that might screw it up for you in the tournament coming up, or was it just all friendly competition?
I think I can say confidently it's always friendly, like, because if Dogboy was going to win, like, of course I'm going to be like, you're a dick, but I'm happy for him. It's just kind of pushing us to do better.
And if we look at the history books, in the inevitability that it was typically Robin that actually won, it was more along the lines of "fuck that kid." But always, we love him, and I celebrate that with him. But it's chasing. But that's just it. Is for all of us at different levels, we have that piece, and we got to be a pretty hefty pinnacle. But that was still something, man. That I can appreciate all those that wanted a piece of Dogboy, but man, I was still one that wanted a piece of Robin, and Robin had those I know that wanted a piece of out there in the world, and so we can always find those pieces in the path, but never animosity. Find the love of the fight itself, and hopefully the ones that beat you are the ones that drive you the most.
Right. Yeah. And then sort of connected to that question, where there was that stretch of time where you guys, were pretty dominant in your field, obviously. Did you ever feel the pressure from that, where it was like, you're the example of like what people are shooting for, you're the target because you're doing so well, that kind of thing? Did you ever feel pressure from that, or was that just something where you were just kind of doing your thing and it just was what it was?
Do you want to go first, or?
Whichever way you'd like. It's interesting from two different areas and two sides of the mountain. So,
Matt,
okay, I'll go.
Matt,
yeah,
yes, in a healthy way. Again, that's only one of those things that drove me. That you need to get to a point where you fought enough fights, and we've had lots of conversations and go into depth of philosophy where it needs to always be, I don't care whether it's just a ditch line or just a singles having a good time or the finals of the most important tournament of life in the hoopla of hootie-ha, right? That it needs to just be another fight, and that's how you need to approach it, because that's going to be the most clear-headed, the way you're going to win the fight, right? But we want to we always want to strive to win, but that's the pressure itself is something that, as sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought here, but the pressure itself is a good motivating factor. It's something that you want to go out there and you want to best your buddies for the day. But man, if you haven't, you know you're still there. It's just a moment in time. It's just that one fight. It's something that you just move right on past. So you do the thing, and if you make it, awesome. If you don't, that's cool too. The next one's right around the corner.
Right.
Yeah, there's always another tournament and everything. Early on, it was definitely a motivation factor. Like, you got to get to the top of the mountain and then hold the top of the mountain to put your footprint on in time. I would say, like, towards the end, because I fight less and less amp card nowadays, towards the end, it did kind of burn me out. Like, you kind of have this expectation that if you enter a tournament, then you're expected to place or win. And that took some of the fun out of it.
Right.
I don't know if I was getting burnt out and just lost a little bit of drive or what, but it did definitely like go up and then come down all in the same fashion with that pressure. So it can be both good and bad. Especially, you don't want to end up like, a has-been, or they were good, or
Yeah. Nice. And then, do you think it might have increased the not pressure, but the feelings of competitiveness? The fact that you guys were on separate sides of the mountain, so you didn't get to fight on a weekly basis. Where would you like almost build up to like, okay, this next event, Robin's going to be there, and I'm going to kick his ass, or Dog was going to be there, and you know what I mean? Like, does that sort of play into the relationship?
I would be frothing at the fucking mouth.
It would be every ditch. Dog would just line up across from me. I'm like, come on, man, I want to go fight someone else. He's like, okay,
I had missed him, so yeah, I hadn't gotten to try and hit him with a stick in a long time. So pretty much every event, I definitely would go seek him out. And to be fair, I would do that at national events with friends that I had met at a caliber, and I mean, at those events, I wouldn't come after, right? Those are the ones where I would want to team up with you, Robin, or you, Ormus, or whoever it is that I feel like when we leave our pond, when we go out of Kingdom, now it's time to team up and go put that footprint on other people. But yeah, when it's at home and I haven't seen you in a minute, I'm definitely coming for you.
Lots of love.
Lots of love.
All right, so this might be a little trickier one for you, Robin, because you've been out of the game a little bit. You've still been active in the FCA, and I heard you're doing okay. No big deal.
What's your fight?
I heard getting by just barely is what I heard. But the fight, I feel like the fighting culture today is very different than it used to be. A lot of times when I think of like in this particular group, the three of us, I picture like a different time in Amcard for sure. So I don't want to say like heyday because I'm 32, so it's definitely not like days gone by type of thing. But what do you think about the fighting culture today, and how do you think it's changed as opposed to before when you guys were super active and whatnot?
Robin.
Sorry, I was reading Locke's question.
Yeah, no, I told you guys at the beginning that I would indicate who should talk first, and I haven't done it yet. So
Yeah.
I'm just here to speak with you guys.
Repeat the question.
What's your opinion on today's fighting culture as opposed to previous?
I think actually, in the last 5 to 8 years, a lot of the flavor has gone, and it's gone way more sport instead of when I first started. It was a lot more. I don't want to say fun is the right word, but it was more diverse. So you'd have all these different fighting styles instead of everyone's using these Warlord sports sticks and lacrosse gloves and the new foam shields and everything like that. There was just more flavor in the game back then, especially in class games too. So I think that's kind of makes me sad with how streamlined the game has got. But it's still very competitive and a fun fight. It's just a different game now.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one I hadn't even really considered. I certainly see exactly what you're talking about, but hadn't even considered that particular aspect. As the technology certainly has advanced and streamlined. But the fighting cult, at least for Northern Lights, I think it's been an interesting thing. I mean, we've talked about this forever. That we've had fighting cultures that kind of ebb and flow, right? And to the point where we fought hard enough that we killed Inland Ocean a couple times, and it came back, and we're in a strong swing now where they're in the battle game, and they're really making sure to embrace every aspect and the full breadth of Amtgard as it truly is meant to be, which is good. But there is some suffrage in the pendulum swing, I think, that happens with the fighting culture that I think will balance out. But it just seems like they need to make sure that there's that focus, that light on making sure that the battle games, the full aspect of the game is taken care of, that we need. The biggest culture shift I've noticed within the fighting specifically has been from ditching to more of the one-on-one sets, right? Which that's fine too. I enjoy one-on-one duels and being able to just kind of bang it out and swap up or whatever. But I haven't seen as much ditching necessarily, be it through video or hear about it at the large events in mass scale or things like that. It seems to have moved to more of these bear pits and kind of one-on-ones.
Yeah, it's like the first to tens and stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, does that how much ditching did you see? I think, Ormus, you were the one that traveled most recently. Spring War, was it? And I mean, were there pretty good ditch lines there?
Yeah. I mean, there definitely was a focus to make sure that other games were happening. Like it was, because I've definitely been to events in the past where it was like the ditching would almost take precedence over pretty much anything else. Springmore wasn't like that, but when the ditching did happen, it was pretty big. You could tell that it a little bit different because they didn't necessarily the field that they chose or the area that they chose for the ditching was a little too small for what was happening. And there was no like we should move it, we should fix it. It was just okay. It is what it is. But it was still pretty good. And that was Springmore was the last one I went to. That was pretty big and whatnot. But yeah, it was the ditching itself was really good. Lots of high caliber fighters and stuff. We're all excited to fight too. So
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So I've got a question from Locke. The first one is. We were talking. This goes back to when we were talking about you guys and your friendly competition, your drive to meet each other at events and fight. Locke wants to know, why do you think some fighters do the opposite, where they avoid the competition and try to dominate without testing themselves against their contemporaries? Matt, I know you have some pretty strong feelings about this one, so I'm gonna let you go first. I would be lying if I didn't say that I've definitely heard the answer to this more than once, but I'm excited for everyone else to hear it.
Well, I mean, you have to broaden and test yourself. You have to, and I'm not sure exactly which piece of that you're looking, because that's a pretty broad answer, and I know that we've had lots of philosophical conversations around this. But I mean, the only way you're going to be able to be the best is to put yourself up against the best. And the sword path, at least, and this is just one guy's opinion, but is an interesting one because heavy is the burden, if you can't actually hack it. There's so many people that are so excited and concerned with getting the leather, getting the belt, getting the accolade. That's cool, man. I get it. I understand. We all achieved it. Don't let them tell you, oh, I didn't try for my sword belt. Everybody tries for this to some degree. You do it in a sportsman-like fashion. You do it in a proper competitive-like fashion, but you're making the effort. These people that try and like cheat their way to it or dodge the competition to get there. The fact of the matter is that once you've got that belt, I've watched it ruin careers. It's hard to step out on that ditch line when, man, now you've got to wear that sword belt and you've got average Joe fighter that's about to whoop your ass because you didn't really actually take the competition. You didn't take the time to actually go through the steps and get the skill set to be able to wear it. So now you have to be that sword knight that's getting your ass whooped, day in and day out. Never had a peak, never had a pinnacle. So those guys, you can't have that. That can't be the path. You need to be able to find the people out there that are going to drive you, that are going to push you, that are going to make you that competitive draw. I mean, that's kind of my tangent rant, I guess, but I'll leave it there because I don't want to overflow. But
Robin, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, that was pretty much verbatim what I was going to say. No, I'm just
fuck off.
No, what I think why people sometimes dodge or do the opposite is a big ego and pride thing. They would rather go into a fight and know they're going to win and not test their skill, just so they can have that victory in a ditch or whatever, instead of going up and losing over and over and over, and people seeing that. I think it's a big. People have a hard time losing, and people seeing that.
Right.
Where the ditch line, the practice, that's the time to take your lumps. And the person that's giving you your lumps, that's the person you need to address more and more and more, because eventually the lumps will start lessening.
So Locke also has a follow-up question, and I'll move to another one. Since these people get those belts and they end up with squires and such looking up to them, do you think that has impacted fighting culture as they've gotten belts? So, like, as the people who may not have tested themselves as hard have gotten promoted and moved up in the ranks, do you think that might negatively affect the culture, or positive, whatever, like, impacted it at all? Robin, you want to start?
It's like any profession or anything, but you're going to have good and bad eggs. And so I think it's all just part of the game. And so you can't, as much as we'd like to hold everyone to that higher echelon and tier, there is no light without the dark. So you can't have these top tier ones unless you have these bottom tier ones, as black and white as that might be. We're going to have that gambit regardless.
I mean, it's in all paths that, not all belts are created equally, unfortunately, right? That the person still makes the belt doesn't make the person. So we can see different calibers of all of the different paths when it comes to looking at a knighthood versus the knight itself.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
good question.
Yeah. So when I was coming up in the game, obviously I was over there in Stormhaven with Robin. And Robin, one of the things you used to tell me all the time was, and this is a sentiment that's been definitely repeated by you as well, Matt. Or I probably should be using your Amcar name since I'm using Robin's. So yours, Dogboy. The sentiment was you have to be okay with losing. Like, that was a big thing where, like, you need to go out there both in for your attitude and for your learning, you need to be okay with losing. In spite of that, do you personally have any losses that still haunt you? Like tournament losses, individual losses, anything like that, ones that you still think about sometimes, or ones that were big enough that you still remember? Because we've all had a million losses, but
I have two that I know that were like I got cheated. But it doesn't like haunt me or anything. There's snapshots where it's like, yeah, I remember that. You have all the good ones and the bad ones, and so I just have two. One was when I got knighted. It was like the early bird tourney.
Dude, I got a picture of that one.
where we fought. I died. The guy hit me, and the guy said he'll take the win, and so that was just a little. And
hang on a second, real quick. That became a tagline in our friend group for years. I'll take the win. We used to say that all the time just to make fun of it because it was so ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
I was like short of little things along the lines of those kind of stunning acts of cheating, not playing by the rules. No, not really. I mean, there's no losses that I'm gonna. I believe that we've talked enough about this, Robin. That I mean, we kind of do the same. The reasoning behind the Squires trial seems to be pretty commonly the same. That man, that you bring these people that put them to fight, any comers and all comers for hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, however long. Some nasty broke turtles, everything. Like make them fight for forever, and it's to get past the. It's like, did you win? Fuck yes, you win. Did you lose? Yes, of course you lost. How many? No clue. Perfect. Right? Because it doesn't matter. It's no longer about wins. It's no longer about losses. Did you win? Yeah, I lost a bunch. Yeah, I won a bunch. But it's about the fight. It's about the next fight, and it's about continuing. You get past the frustration of fights. You get past that shitty fight you had. You get past that I'm in my head for a moment. You can have downward spirals. You can find your way out of the spiral in that 4 hours because you need to just be okay with all of those scenarios in order to be able to grow your fighting Rolodex enough to really make that climb. At least that's my thoughts on it.
So no.
So no.
Sorry. Robbie, you said you had a second one.
It was either my second pack war, I think, and I was fighting Sir Rabbit, who doesn't play anymore, and they were pretty strict about the Eric. If you were leaving an Eric, then you got a warning, and on the second one you forfeit. Well, we were fighting Florentine, and I was sidestepping out, but before I stepped out, I took both his arms, but they didn't take it because I was leaving the Eric, like my foot was out. And so
I
hadn't landed, but I sniped both his arms, landed, and they reset it and said it didn't count. I was like, sweet. But I was new. I mean, what am I going to do? Am I going to argue with, that company at that time and the referees? It was a situation, but it's fine.
All right. And Robin, I think I know your answer to this, but what's your guys' favorite weapon style? Not most effective, but your favorite. It could be most effective if you want.
Absolutely know what it is. It's definitely great sword. that son of a bitch.
The super light two-handed sword.
Yes, it's with that. Or I really enjoyed my staff when I did have it. Mm-hmm. Anything that's just like unique and not normal. I really or like the French Florentine, like a dagger and a stubby longsword, like a 42 or 40-inch longsword. Something just not quite a good longsword and a real handicap on the dagger.
Just short enough to almost be cheating because they think you have a short sword.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dogway.
I mean, most fun. I'm not as proficient as Maurice or Robin, but I still really enjoy the great sword a good bit.
There were so many of those in the Alliance crowd for a while.
What's that?
There were so many of those in the Alliance group for a while. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I think that everybody really stepped up their game and started sharing and playing lots of fun stuff with that in Alliance. But two choppers, just two Florentine shorts is lots of fun. It helps. I always try and go back to something along those lines, just if I ever need to make myself get my feet back under me. That's just a lot of fun to get moving again. The board's just old reliable.
I have a chat question from Cormac. He's down in Blackspire. Why does everyone hate polearm fighters so much?
So my theory on this is a lot of people in the AMP card like to get face to face, and with the polearm you have to run, and that's just not fun for a lot of people, especially with their tactic is a leg shot like right away, and then you're on your knees and then you get picked apart. So it's just not fun on that side. That's my thoughts, anyways. I think all the weapons have a place in the game, and it goes back to that adding flavor to it. If everyone's fighting sword and board and Florentine, then it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
All the weapons definitely have a place. If honest and like putting all jokes aside, I think that there is some piece, because I feel like pole arms of all the weapons are the only ones in Amtgard that can truly end up actually hurting someone. So there's some people that have some fear about that. And the way that we'll get there. But the way that pole arms can potentially be used, the weight and heft and velocity that they can drive and making impact can sometimes be scary. As far as I'm concerned, I've always kind of drawn the triangle that if you take all names out of the equation, you have a sword and shield will be able to beat a pole arm will be able to beat a Florentine will be able to beat a sword and shield, and it kind of makes a little triangle, and everything has its place. If you have a shield, you should never fear a pole arm, in my assessment. But I think that's where that comes from. And then there's always just the jokes because of that range and pickiness that we just like to pick on the pole arm fighters. So.
And I also think not everyone makes pole arms like they make swords, so they don't have as much experience, so they're not always made safely. And it's a lot of mass. So if you get thrusted with something that's like 8 feet long, that's bamboo and they're using a minimum like 2.5.
I've seen guys lose teeth. I've seen guys take black eyes. I've seen guys get broken noses to pole arms. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can take a nasty face shot with a sword and other, but a pole arm's got a lot of weight to it. And so if you take the wrong shot, that sucks. Getting cord just coming down on the head.
Yeah. Something that I heard brought up, I want to say it was on the Amtgard page or something, but they had brought up the idea that you guys are both active in the SCA, so you're aware of the idea of certification for fighting styles. Would you think that would ever be an acceptable practice in Amtgard, or a positive benefit for things like somebody wants to use a pole arm or something like that, but they need to be certified first or anything like that? Do you think there's any merit to that, or do you think it's the wrong demographic?
I don't think it's a bad idea, actually. Yeah, because with the range, going back to ditching, you could hurt your own teammates if you're not paying attention. You're shooting at someone that's 4 people over, and you clip your own guy. So I could see where that's warranted, but implementing that would be pretty difficult, I think, in Amtgard.
Yeah.
First, I agree with implementation would be challenging, but that's not to say that it's insurmountable. It could be done. Secondly, I would support it if it was something that was there because it makes sense and could be an easy thing. But on the devil's advocate side, I would only indicate that some of the biggest injuries I've seen have been from some of the more experienced pole fighters, not from a newbie flailing about.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Right. Okay.
Well, even if they don't necessarily mean to make contact in the way it makes contact, they understand what they're doing and know how to use the pole arm. Therefore, would still be "quote unquote" certified in that scenario, right?
Sure.
So, it's just all sides of the equation.
Right. So we've talked quite a bit about culture up to this point. So I'm going to get more down to the mechanics of the game, because obviously you guys put a lot of work into to get to the point where you're at in your fighting, and with the previous video and everything, kind of the same vein. We're not necessarily looking at the belt itself, the awards, anything like that. More like when you're thinking of the process to get the talent to eventually earn those awards. I know that I feel like you guys might be in different camps on this one, so I'm excited to ask this one. When both on your path on the come up and now, how much do you drill? How much emphasis did you put on individual drills and stuff like that, as opposed to just fighting? Matt, do you want to start?
Yeah. So because Robin's will be real short. I saw the goose egg. With Amtgard, though, to be fair, for the strong majority, mine was 0 as well. I was fighting 3 to 5 times a week, every week, right? Just because that's what we did. We had a good, healthy group at the time. We had a bunch of buddies that all liked to fight for the day, go to Sherry's in the afternoon and evening, hang out, whatever. And so we would just fight all the freaking time. So, I mean, it wasn't drilling, but it was constant repetitive motion. With that being said, I do believe that drilling can accelerate the path for a new fighter, right? That going through that repetition and actually working through a drilling pattern will give you those reps, right? It's just a matter of throwing the shot 100,000 times, 500,000 times, 1,000,000 times. Because I can promise you that all three of us have thrown that, just a straight shot more than 1,000,000 times in our life, right? And so we've gotten pretty freaking good at it. But accelerating the reps with those drills is a good thing. I used it for the SCA when I got in because I wanted to accelerate that time frame. But coming up in Amtgard, I didn't actually. I'm in later path converted into believing in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine is the same fighting 3 to 5 times a week and video study. So no drilling, but it's also deliberate fighting instead of just like going out and doing the same 3 or 4 shots. It's limiting it so I'm not using the same 3 or 4 shots and then seeing something online from Texas or something like that and trying to implement it poorly right away, and then it worked one time and then it gets better and better and better.
Yeah. I always felt like with learning new shots, like every time you throw it at the beginning, it feels dumb. And then like all of a sudden you'll throw it once and something just kind of clicks and you have like that moment where you're like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. And then it accelerates. Yeah.
Well, the first time is like that proof of concept, right? Like there it is. You finally got that. Yes, this can in fact work, right? Because after the first one, you're like, bam, okay, now it's just a matter of repeating. Right now it's just perfecting the repetition, getting it better, getting it smoother, making it work. But like that first time, that first click, you're like, yes, this truly is possible. I can make this happen.
Yeah. And I know that like, obviously we've been doing this a long time, but the rogues didn't like invent drilling, but I feel like at a certain point they sort of like made it like mainstream, like made it popular, showed kind of what you can do with it. And I don't think that happened at the beginning of our careers. I think like you guys, especially you've been playing longer than me, where you were getting pretty established in the game before that started to become like popularized. So maybe it wasn't like newer players coming in. Drilling's always been a popular concept in their game experience. So I'm gonna
go so far as to say that maybe the rogues didn't invent drilling, but they damn sure invented drilling in Amtgard.
Right, sure. That's kind of what I meant. Yeah, like,
Spin was the one that definitely started that shit out. But even before SKBCs, he was doing that internally with the rogues for a good long time.
All right,
because that's been his system for. But he didn't open it up. Well, and he'll even talk about that at the early age, man, especially when he himself was full of piss and vinegar, right? It wasn't a share culture. It wasn't a knowledge share. It wasn't an open, everybody knows. It was very much a different schools, different camps, man. Fuck, the rogues say fuck the bobs say fuck the rogues, the nihilist says fuck them both. I mean, like they had different camps. They weren't sharing, but that's been their system for a long time. And then the knowledge share mentality kind of opened up with some of the SKBC stuff and things of that nature. And Spin got older and a little bit softer and started sharing more of that methodology. I think that's
I definitely want to clip off this part of the video where you called Spin soft and send it to him. I feel like that'll go.
I really want you to.
All right. Do you have one specific, we're going to bounce around a little bit here. Do you have a specific battle game memory that you hold dearest or anything like that? Your favorite moment in a battle game? Anyone that sticks out? Dogboy, I see you nodding, so you can start. Robin's looking off to the side, so I'm guessing.
I got a lot of them.
You got a lot of them? That's great.
Yeah.
Man, so yeah, this was everyone knows the battle games are where I shine the brightest.
Yeah.
And so there was this one where I was playing, what was it, a Titan, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. You're a terrible Titan.
That was 1,000.
So playing a Titan, and I'll probably even mess this up, but the punchline here essentially is what I had 5 points of invulnerable armor, I believe is the way that this works, and I got hit with an arrow for 5 points at this stage, which at that point in the rules meant that I lost 1 point of invulnerable armor, because it's invulnerable armor is just any hit is 1 point, but this arrow hits me and they're like 5, and I'm supposed to be this pinnacle monster guy, right, for this big quest battle game thing, because I'm one of the Titans and I'm one of these great warlords out there, blah, and so they're like 5, and I keep running. I'm like, all right, and then somebody like hits me once, and I just fall over dead, and everybody is super duper confused. And I was like, well, I died because like the 5-point arrow took all my armor, and then that person hit me, and so this is how I run battle games. It was great.
That was a great one.
I remember that moment. It was super funny because I was still pretty new to the game on that one. And it was a while ago. I thought, and I could have been seeing wrong. I thought you had, because the whole field just stopped. Everyone stopped playing, essentially, to watch them argue with you about whether you were dead or not.
You're just laying down on the ground.
Yeah, you're like on the ground. And they're like, dog, well, you're still alive. You're like, no. You were very confident that you were dead.
I got hit by a 5-point arrow. I had 5 points of armor. That's gone. And then that guy hit me. I'm dead.
Yeah, and then I remember someone like next to me, I think it was Darius, was like, I was like, what the hell's happening? And he's like, oh, and he explained it to me, and he's just like shaking his head the whole time, like you could see the disappointment, but like acceptance on his face, like a mix of the two.
Yeah,
that was great.
Good stuff.
I think one of mine was.
I was just trying to play by the rules. I died.
Yeah. Mine was when we went down to Clan, the one that like got flooded out, and we were playing this castle game. It's like Maurice, Cyric, Dogboy, and they're trying to set up these castles, which is pretty much a 5-gallon bucket with cement in it and a tarp. And to stop the timer, we have to knock down the castle. So one guy goes in there, and I end up just like door kicking one of the pillars. All 4 collapse, and this guy just like stumbles out of the tarp. It was glorious.
Yeah, trapped all inside of him. It was great.
All right, and then in the same vein, what's your favorite memory in a ditch specifically? So non-battle game, it's ditching.
Mine's probably one in SKBC when we went down to California, and I think it was Friday night, or it was probably Saturday night actually. There's a shit ton of people there. Cloudless and I were the last 2 alive. Yeah. So Edgar fights, they're like, what, 15, 20 seconds long? This one was like, for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And what eventually what happened was we threw a couple shots. We threw a couple kicks to the shield because we were playing by bell rules at nighttime. He threw a reverse spin. I stuffed it, and then I threw a reverse spin and killed him. And it was just so satisfying because earlier in the ditch, he made some snide comment, and I was like, everyone got to see this, so that's good.
Well, you guys, because those are the pinnacle moments, because it was the last. You two were the last ones on the ditch, so everybody got to see the fight because we were all dead and watching it. And Cloudless is known for that reverse spin that he's been throwing forever, and so it was a beautiful stuff. And then to just return right behind it with your own, it was a very sexy shot. It was a really pretty exchange. I believe that there was applause. Yeah, that was a good one, man. The first one that popped into my mind for some reason is mostly is to highlight a friend of mine, Downfall, who I love dearly from long, long ago. But I can just remember like ditch moments, and this is just what popped into my head first, so I'm gonna have to go with it. Is watching poor Downey, man. I mean, all best humored, good heart, man, doesn't mean to, gets real excited when he's fighting Florentine at times. And we had a good day at Inland Ocean, I don't know, 50, 60 people. So there's like 20 plus versus 20 plus on each side of a ditch line. And suddenly Downey's mowing through people and just working this ditch like, pop, just going down the line. Suddenly stops. He's like, hang on.
Yeah, I remember this.
I'm a cheater. And he points to like the second person in this line of like 14 people that he just slayed through. And the second one, he's like, "You killed me. You, and you are all alive." I was like, "God damn it, line up. Let's just start it all over again." And
That was when they were fighting with those like little Zulu spears.
yeah, well, and it would be cute if it was just a one-off, but everyone's like, "God damn it, Downey, stop, go back there." You got overexcited. But really, I guess one of the best ones was the Texas SKBC, where you just gotten your sword belt. I was still the warlord, so I wasn't there yet. We were down in Texas, and I got one as the last end of a fight, and it was very simply that I was offhanded, so I was already wounded, and I got a nice offside block and a reverse pop on Arthon. While he still had his board, and he had to grudgingly give that to me as we walked off the field.
That was sweet.
So that was
a lot of O's and
yeah. So I mean, those are definitely some fun, quick moments. I won't bother talking about the ditch line at Clan where Cyric and I got worked by Leaf for about half an hour.
I wasn't there for that one, but that gave me endless amounts of entertainment on YouTube because Galrog managed to capture it and post it. So,
oh yeah, Galrog, and that's just it. Once we got into open weapon, we started faring much better because, of course, 2 open weapon versus 1. But in the single sword and with Leaf having that, it wasn't very long, but he had a long sword. But my dude was just taxing us, man, just putting us to fucking task.
That was the same event where he stepped in, or Maurice stepped in and punched him in the face.
Where he stepped in and punched Maurice in the face.
Yeah. We all lived with some sort of bruise.
Oh yeah, that was a rough clan. Because Leaf was super nice, right? He didn't mean to at all. They just got close in a clash, and man, Maurice took a good one to the eye.
I think I still have that picture.
Pictures, just a massive shiner.
Oh yeah, massive shiner. It was a good one.
So there was Robin. Your story made me think of the first. Or actually the only time I went to Clan, I was fighting in the ditching, and I was fighting Monkey, and Monkey's a really good fighter. This was the first time I'd met him. He was super good natured. We're having fun fighting, and the ditch ended, and me and Monkey are still fighting, and I can't remember what he throws, but he just smokes me. Everybody's watching. I'm gonna stand there like after this big exchange. Like we fought for like the entire ditch, but nobody saw that whole lead up because they were fighting their own people. Ditch ends, he smokes me with everyone watching. And I was like, oh my god, this is the worst. So the whole time I'm like, I'm gonna get that one back. I'm coming after him. So finally we have another one, big exchange, fucking end of the ditch. I smoke him. I'm like, just like so jacked. I'm like, everyone had to be watching. I turned. Nobody watching. Like the ditch just like ended, and I was like, everyone had just like I was like, that was my moment. I would feel like those ends of the ditch, like if you make it to the end, you're fighting like this. It's really a really fun like experience to go through. Dogboy, there's a question here from Cormac. I'm gonna put it up on the little thing because I'm gonna butcher the person's name. Somebody wrote an audiobook, and it was written by an SCA member named David Kamerer.
Okay.
Called Fireside of the Night. I'm guessing the answer to this is no, but in the book, one of the chapters he talks about a battle in which he fought with someone named Dogboy. Was that this Dogboy? I'm assuming not because you go by Athos in SCA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool question, Cormac, but no. So in the SCA, I'm known by a different name, so that would probably be a different person. And I'm gonna guess that if it's something that's been written of, man, I'm having a great time in the SCA, but I don't know that I'm necessarily gonna be published story worthy quite yet. We'll get there maybe one day.
Not like Wonder Boy here, right?
Right, man. Yeah. We can't all be Sir Robin.
Yeah. And then we know that Cyric's watching because he remembers getting worked by Leaf as well. All right. Let me find it. So I was tracking the Facebook post, but nobody's. So this one's for Robin, and then I'll flip the question for Dogboy. Robin, we used to all the time like do a lot of what?
I said because I'm a lefty.
Yeah, exactly. So you get to go last because you're
yeah. Flip the question because I'm a lefty.
Stop it! You just quit. Robin, we used to go. I always remember like we do a lot of traveling and stuff. We go to events in Blackspire as well as events in Northern Lights. At the time, it was a lot of like day events in Northern Lights as opposed to camping events. But later on, as they ran more camping events, it was camping as well. It always felt like the atmosphere almost was different between a Blackspire event and a Northern Lights event. How do you feel the same way? And if so, like what do you think led to that? What do you think the differences were between the two?
I absolutely think there was a difference in it. Blackspire has a lot of, or had, I should say, a lot of.
It's a different Blackspire now. I gotta say that.
Yes, it's a different Blackspire now. But at the time, a lot of ego and a good old boys club where Northern Lights seemed more welcoming, and it was younger in Amtgard time, and they're wide-eyed. They were pushing for Kingdom. You know, they were way more driven. Where Blackspire was kind of set in their ways, and they didn't want to change. And so, not to say that the events were still fun, but I definitely know what you mean. Where there's a different vibe at Northern, at those events versus my Kingdoms.
Right. Do you think it might have been like you mentioned they were younger in Amtgard time? I almost feel like. Do you feel like they was younger, like just a younger demographic as well of people, or was that kind of just me because I was younger at the time as well?
Yeah, that could be. When I'm thinking about Blackspire, I do see a older demographic, majority-wise, anyways. I felt like Northern Lights had way more numbers, but again, yeah, in like their 20s or 30s, not in later.
Yeah.
Or even younger, like 18 to 25,
Right. And then
just fresh blood that people want to come and have a good time,
Yeah. Then Dog, I'm curious how you feel about that, but also if you could add, because you spent a bit of time coming over to Stormhaven as well. Do you feel like Stormhaven had a different feel, or was it more kind of in line with Blackspire or Northern Lights, respectively?
Really, so I think that the some of the youth had something to do with it. There's still lots of youth in Blackspire, but who was controlling the game at that point, and negativities or anything else aside, it's that this was a young organized group, and especially when it was it was a long push for Kingdom status that we had before we got there, when it was the NWA before it ever became Northern Lights and everything else. But it was that unified goal in this young group that we had, that were striving to be creative, had this drive to want to see each other, and a lot of young kids that were at the northern end of the kingdom that wanted to go hang out with buddies that they had met and created down at the southern end of the kingdom. So there was a lot of travel willing to be had and wanted, with a unified goal of hoping to one day be kingdom. So there was a lot of cohesiveness, a lot of people working together to strive for this one big achievement, right? Stormhaven, rather, I think was very similar to that, only in maybe not driving for kingdom as specifically, let's say, but filled with young kids that just creatively wanted to play the game, right? Like, so you guys were all about politics hadn't really reached you guys yet. You were far enough away from a kingdom centric, and perhaps the politics are something that are just going to naturally embed themselves in any kingdom the older it becomes, right? The more established it gets. But you guys were still young, and so it was very playful. It was very fun. It was very easy to go over there and just enjoy a day or a weekend, and know that it was just going to be games and fun. And I think Northern Lights had that, and that all Amtgardian cultures strive to ebb and flow with that struggle, right? Keeping the fun over the structure, because you need some of the politics and infrastructure to, of course, keep the game running. But that exuberance and excitement is something that's the only way you're going to sustain the numbers.
Yeah. That's just something that popped in. It could be because of the fact that I feel like, to me at least, you guys always represented sort of the two sides of the state. Like with Washington, like I felt like Dog, where you were very much like the ambassador for NWA and stuff like, at least especially in the fighting and stuff like that. And then Robin, obviously, you were on the other side, so it's this weird little split there. Sorry.
That's right. Take your notes.
What's that?
I said that's fine. Take your notes.
Oh, I'm not writing anything you say down. Yeah.
Write that down.
So on a lighter note, I guess, if you had to pick one person in the entirety of your career,
I would banish you.
Yeah. Perfect.
I would banish you, hands down.
Yeah, well, you don't have to show up to the park to make these goofy videos, so you'll never get rid of me.
That's right.
So, no, if you had to pick one person over the course of your entire career, you would say was your favorite person to fight, and then alternately, if you had to pick someone who is active currently, and we'll do like all present company excluded, who you'd like to fight right now, like who you think your favorite fight would be for a modern, current active person. Dog Boy, I know you're active more recently, so I'll start with you.
All right, fine. I'm glad you said current company excluded because I'd have to include him, and that would just piss me off to acknowledge that in front of all these people. So we'll just not acknowledge that Robin's probably one of my favorite fights in the world. Right. And pretend like it's not a thing.
Yeah.
But
I just didn't want you to feel obligated to say me.
Right.
We know you want to. I didn't say present company excluded in the first video because I wanted one of those guys to say that I was their favorite fight. But now that that's out of the way, I already got that out of the way. So
of the times gone past, it's still Leaf. Part of that is because of the impact and the the persona that he is still, that I hold him to some pedestal in a degree, but also because I'd come full circle with him, that it was, I was the newbie all the way to the peer with him, and still always enjoyed, and man, that guy could just push me to fight like I can't even believe. So that would still be one that I would, especially given that he's passed, I'd need to have that again. So certainly that on the list. But yeah. Then more recently of the new gen, which, man, this is by no means current gen at this stage, dude. But Anatole, God, me and him would throw down like there was a Boston SKBC, there's a 2 clans that we had, and a Utah where we spent a good bit of time just for funsies, throwing down back and forth off to the side of a ditch line for forever, and that was just an incredible time. Had a great time with it. So those are some that I would really enjoy. Stop writing it down.
I'm not writing anything. Like, who writes nowadays? It's 2020. Whatever you pen and paper. Get out of here.
Whatever you say. Whatever you need to tell yourself.
I'm looking up questions, so there's not a big gap the next time between the answers and the questions.
All right, Robin, go.
Go.
I didn't get to fight Leaf as much as Dogboy did. I only had like maybe a handful of encounters at the events that we were at. But in the past, probably Maurice, just because he was so inventive in his fighting style, and just I gleaned what I could from him to make it work for me. He's the one that I got that 2-hander from, just different angles and how he would go after stuff. He's definitely the top of my list there. He was the beacon when I was coming up, like.
Yeah.
And then currently probably Moses, because he's such a wildcat where he fights anything, he fights live steel, SCA, Belgarth, like everything, or not live steel, but you know what I mean, like Battle of the Nation and stuff. And he's inventive too. Like he was talking about one shot that he thrown with the back of his blade on the inside. I was like, what? And so he's just crazy, and he's always a good time. You don't have to worry about. It's always a clean fight. It's always a fun fight.
Yeah.
Always take something away from that guy.
Yeah,
He's so jovial while he stomps
Yeah.
you into a mud puddle.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone be able to be so aggressive while being so happy, like in the moment. Not even like because a lot of people you'll see go into like a mode where they're like they're in the zone, they're aggressive, but then afterwards they're laughing and joking. He's laughing and joking while he's in that mode, so it's definitely a little different and fun. So I concur with that one for sure. Let's see, I'm gonna make sure we don't have any more questions. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna ask, what is your worst habit when you're fighting? Like during.
Mine is easily in a ditch. I'm watching everyone fight, and I'm not helping at all. And so, Dog Warrior, you will run off and go and fight someone. And I'll stand there and watch, and then you get like ganked, and then I join in once you're dead. That's my biggest flaw in fight.
There's definitely many occasions in Stormhaven where I'd like end up fighting like multiple people, get killed, and turn like, "What the hell were you doing?" And you're like, "Oh, you look like you had
it." So I mean, there's this old school mentality, and Duke's actually the one that introduced me to it, and they actually shared it from a different game even. But it's still a fun mentality that's mostly a joke, but it's great. Any fight worth fighting is a fight you can walk to, right? Because I feel like if your buddies are over there fighting and you got to walk there, well, if you don't get there and your buddies killed them, well, then they didn't need you. And if they die, well, then when you walk there, the fight's still going to be there, so you can just walk. It's fine. So any fight worth fighting is a fight you can walk to.
No? What's your worst habit, though? I agree.
Aside from that, because I don't want to take that, but that was even in my head. I was like, becoming lackadaisical, right? I mean, that's the overall is, and I feel like we've probably had enough practice that when it's serious and focus time, we can call on that pretty readily anytime we actually need to. But yeah, if it's a general practice day or a ditching line or anything of that nature, or a sustained set of fights that you've been doing with somebody for 20-30 minutes, getting lackadaisical, starting to not move, starting to be a little bit less caring and trying to be crisp in a response, right? And the fact is, in this game of fractions of a second, that gets you killed.
Yeah.
The moment I'm not trying 100%, if I'm only trying 97%, 97% is a lot.
Right.
But if the other guy's 100%, I'm dead every time. I mean, it's just, so you got it right. Like, that's just, yeah. So I guess getting lackadaisical in just any set.
Yeah.
Is that a cheap answer?
No, I can totally relate to that. Where, and it's almost like I totally agree. I suffer from that as well. I'll find myself like going into a fight and like I don't know if it's like for that individual fight like a lack of excitement, but it's like going in there and because you should be thinking about how you're gonna win, but like the was like I don't care. Like it's fine if I lose. Like not like being okay with losing, but just like in a different sense of like I don't care if I lose. Like that's all right. Like it's a different version of that that's not nearly as healthy. So I definitely agree.
Something that I know happens to people, and I've had happen to me in the past that I feel like I've gotten, but I still like to talk with people about, is the ones that you can see them thinking through the fight like consciously while they're in front of you, and then you can just smoke them, and you're like, okay, that type of thinking should have been done before you ever walked into the area. You can't be processing that while you're in the fight. You can see some people that are freezing because they're busy trying to set up. And I mean, I've gotten that stage. I've been tired. Maybe I'm intoxicated when I was out fighting. And suddenly you're all mapping out this brilliant plan in your head of, man, Robin's going to be right there and I'm going to move this way. And that poor kid's not even going to see it coming because he's going to juke his board and I'm going to make this nasty maneuver. And then you're dead, right? Because you've been thinking all this in your head and the other person's just.
Yeah.
So don't get caught up in those little things is something that can get people, plenty killed. So.
the term I've heard it used in football is paralysis by analysis.
There it is.
You
Yeah.
spend too much time thinking and you don't act. All right, so I got a couple questions from Locke here that he or that they had sent me ahead of time. So I'm gonna hit you with those. We talked about training and drilling. There's a lot of discussion on Pell work right now. What training do you or did you do away from pelling and sparring, like physical conditioning, other types of drills, or anything like that helped you obtain your fighting goals?
So Robin was created from these mythical beings that like blessed him from these Greek mountains, Olymp something, I don't know, but like big bearded dude, like carried lightning bolts, weird guy, but that so he never had to work out. So I'm gonna let Robin, because his answer will be pretty short. But go ahead, Robin.
Robin, just go ahead and say you were born this way so we can move on.
No, I have a good answer for this actually.
Nice, hit me with it.
Yeah, let's hear it. It's like, it's a good answer. No, I was born this way.
So when I was up and coming, my training essentially was a lot of video study. Anything I can get my hands on. Like I have a hard drive right now, external hard drive that has all the stuff from the old, I think it was the old Warlord Sports website before they revamped it and stuff like that. And also when earlier I said deliberately sparring, and so it's not just going out and going through the motions, it's handicapping yourself. So let's say we fight 10 times and I land this shot twice in a row, I'm done using that shot for the rest of those fights. It doesn't help me at all if I'm already landing this, because we've talked about, like, people have a move list, like a video game, a set move list, and most people have like 3 to 5 shots that they rinse and repeat. And so all the top tiers, you got to get up into double digits to really hang with in the deep end. And so after fighting and recording, I'd put it up and see what I was doing wrong, like in our backyard sparring sessions and stuff like that, or what you were doing right, or what I did right and why it worked. So there's a lot of analyzing it afterwards, a lot of like downtime and watching and then applying it later.
Yeah. One of the things I've told people, and I got this from you, was that you can't just put in physical reps, you got to put in mental reps too, and that seems to kind of go the same thing.
The best fighting I ever did actually was when I was training Sammy, because I had to think about what I was doing and try and put it in a way that someone else can understand it and then use it themselves. And so it really made me focus on, okay, it makes sense in my mind and I can do it naturally, but how can I get someone else to do that? So teaching really helped me expand in my fighting career.
Nice.
I definitely tried to do physical stuff. I ran for a good long while when I was at my pinnacle fighting. Right, I was in a good running program, great for cardio. I'm one of the weird. I hate running. I genuinely I loathe it. I hate running. I love how my body feels when I'm in a running program. Right, like what it does for me is wonderful. So keeping myself on a program where you don't like doing the thing is tough, but it was absolutely great, man. I was never bulky muscle, but I played with weights. I played with body weight movements. I was active. I would do things like that.